Good afternoon. My name is Amy Collins, and today I will be speaking about Patricia Polacco. She has wrote several children's books. As you can see, I've got some of those spread out here on the table. Patricia was born on July 11, 1944 in Lansing, Michigan. Her mother's family were Jewish immigrants from Russia and the Ukraine. Her father's family were from the county of Limerick in Ireland. Both cultures valued and kept their history alive by storytelling. Patricia has earned a bachelor's, master's, and PhD in art and art history. She strives to raise the awareness of the plight of our classroom teachers, as well as encouraging students to reach out to each other and include those who are perceived to be different. She is known as a natural storyteller and is highly praised for her work with people of all ages. To date, she has written and illustrated over 115 books for children. I think it would be beneficial to hear about Patricia Polacco's background in her own words in an interview done by Reading Rockets and saved in YouTube.
I would have to say all of my books are probably based on family stories. But remember, I was raised in a household where the old members of my family lived with us. And there was something wonderful about sitting at their knee and listening to how things were. And now it's interesting, that's what I've become in my family. I'm the one who now tells them how things were. And it gave us a sense of our place. It gave us a sense of our birth order. It gave us a sense that we were loved long before we were ever born. Our family was multicultural. I mean, even within our own household, we had people of different belief systems, different countries of origin. And then, of course, I grew up in a city in Oakland where my neighbors came in as many colors, ideas, and religions as there are people. So if this is a part of your life, and in my case it was, I think it was pretty natural to write from that point of view. What's interesting, I've moved back to rural America. I've moved away from the city. And I didn't realize that not every child has the glory of growing up in a neighborhood where people are different than they are. And they don't have the glory of understanding why other people do what they do and say different prayers and eat different food and perhaps even dress differently or look differently. So I think that's another thing literature, especially multicultural literature does, is it gives them an understanding that they otherwise are not going to have. They're not going to hear it in their own homes. So if they can read authentic stories and understand that the heart of humanity is the same, it doesn't matter how we're packaged on the outside, we're all the same. I think that does a great service to molding a child to be a citizen of the world.
As you can see, I have listed a few of Patricia Polacco's most famous books that she has out there, or most popular books. Patricia Polacco has won many awards since 1988. I will be speaking today about the awards that Pink and Say won. As you can see behind me, I have highlighted those awards in green. The most notable was in 2016 when Pink and Say won one of the best books written for children in the past 100 years, and that was awarded to her by the Library of Congress and the President of the United States. The book Pink and Say revolves around the friendship of two young Union soldiers during the Civil War. Sheldon Russell Curtis, also known as Say to his family and friends, is a white soldier who has been shot in the leg. Pink Azalee, or Pink as he's known to his family and friends, is an African American soldier who stays behind to help Say get to Pink's mother's house, Momo Bay's house, to recuperate and to escape the marauders and Confederate soldiers. While Momo Bay nurses Say back to health, Pink and Say get to know one another, and Say begins to have misgivings about going back to the war because he deserted his troops. Pink, on the other hand, urges Say to rejoin the troops as he plans to fight for his freedom. In the process of exchanging stories, Pink reveals that his former master taught him how to read and promises to teach Pink someday. The next morning, as they pack to leave, the Marauders return, and Momo Bay ushers the two boys into the root cellar to hide. They find nothing of value, but shoot Momo Bay as they depart, killing her. Pink and Say have little time to grieve because it's crucial that they get back to their units. On their way, they are captured by the Confederates, who take the boys to prison at Andersonville, one of the worst prisons in the South. Say lives to be released from Andersonville some months later, but learns that Pink was hung on the same day they were captured. A postscript by Patricia Polacco reveals that this is a true story that has been handed down over the generations. Say keeps the story alive for his children and grandchildren. Now, Patricia Polacco, a fifth-generation granddaughter, lovingly illustrates and relates this touching story for us all. In fact, the book was dedicated to Pink Asalee. Through this story, you can learn more about the conditions of the Civil War and share rich discussions about racism, war, service, and friendship with your students. Patricia Polacco's books should be collected for both self-selected reading and curricular uses. Her books cover many aspects of daily life through which our students will recognize their own relationships in their families and communities. The stories deal with multicultural situations as well as multi-generational settings. Through reading these stories and doing some activities, students will recognize personal connections with family that will help them create new memories and traditions. These books can be used to teach several themes. Themes could be taught through Patricia Polacco's books. One such theme could be family relationships. Families come in many shapes and sizes. The relationships we have with our family members are very important. So, in turn, we can learn from them and teach them what we know. Traditions and heritage is another thing that can be taught through her books. Each student has their own traditions through their families that they practice all the time. The next thing would be understanding differences. Understanding each other's differences is one of the most important lessons that can be learned from Patricia Polacco's book. These books can be used to teach everyday heroes. Heroes are usually thought of in a much larger context: sports players, movie stars, famous people from history. But many of the best and brightest shining heroes can be found right in our own hometown, school, or even inside our own families. Classroom celebrations is a thing that can be taught in our classroom anywhere from Christmas to Halloween and back again. Patricia Polacco's books help you celebrate all year long. Write ghost stories centered in your town instead of at Mudsock Meadow. Decorate eggs as pretty as Rachinkas for your own spring festival. Take the opportunity holidays provide to celebrate together and to take time to learn about the different ways and different types of holidays that are celebrated differently than you. Next is friendship. Friendship is easily taught through Patricia Polacco's books. She has several examples, as you can see, of when she's written about special friendships. Patricia Polacco's books can be used to teach about sensitive subjects. We can read these stories in our class or give them to individual students on a need-by-need basis. That way, they can find their situations in a story that can help children understand and cope in positive and productive ways. Patricia Polacco's books not only can be used to teach theme, but also reading comprehension and active thinking, such as predicting and visualizing, and fun with sounds and pictures, and countless other ways. I hope that this video has brought some awareness to Patricia Polacco's books, and if you're finding yourself in the need of a good book sometime, that you pick up one of her books and share with your classroom.